Have you ever noticed something strange about your energy? You wake up already tired, you drink coffee, maybe two, you push through the morning, but by mid afternoon, your brain feels foggy, your motivation disappears, and suddenly all you want is sugar, caffeine, or a nap. And here's the confusing part: you might be eating relatively healthy, you might be sleeping enough hours, you might even be exercising. So the real question becomes, where is your energy actually going? Because most people think low energy is a lack of fuel problem, but in reality, it's usually a leak problem. Your body is designed to produce enormous amounts of energy. Every single cell in your body contains mitochondria, tiny biological power plants, converting nutrients into ATP, the energy currency that powers your brain, muscles, and metabolism. But if certain systems in the body are out of balance, hormones, blood sugar, sleep rhythms, or stress chemistry, your body begins leaking energy throughout the day. And these leaks are often invisible. You can't see them, but your metabolism feels them. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your energy is controlled by a network of systems working together: your blood sugar regulation, your stress hormone cortisol, your circadian rhythm, your nutrient status, and your mitochondrial energy production. When one of these systems gets disrupted, the body starts diverting resources into survival mode instead of performance mode. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body is like a smartphone. If you close all the apps and use it normally, the battery lasts all day. But if you have 10 apps running in the background, the battery drains rapidly, even if you're barely using the phone. Your body works the exact same way. Hidden metabolic stressors are running in the background, quietly draining your energy. And the problem is that most people try to fix fatigue with stimulants: more caffeine, more sugar, energy drinks. But stimulants don't fix the leak. They simply force your nervous system to run harder, which often makes the problem worse over time. What we want to do instead is identify and close the 5 biggest energy leaks happening inside the human body today. Because once you fix these leaks, something remarkable happens. Your energy stabilizes, your brain becomes clearer, your metabolism improves, and fat loss becomes easier. In other words, when the body stops wasting energy, it finally has the capacity to produce energy efficiently again. So in this video, I'm going to break down 5 hidden energy leaks that silently drain your metabolism every day. And more importantly, what you can do to fix them naturally. And most of these solutions are surprisingly simple. The first, and probably the most common energy leak in the modern world, is unstable blood sugar. And the reason this matters is simple. Your brain and body run primarily on glucose and fat for fuel. But for your metabolism to work efficiently, that fuel needs to arrive steadily, not in massive spikes and crashes. Here's what's really going on inside your body. When you eat foods that digest very quickly, things like sugary drinks, pastries, white bread, or refined carbohydrates, glucose floods into your bloodstream very rapidly. Your body interprets this as a metabolic emergency. So your pancreas releases a large amount of insulin, the hormone responsible for moving glucose out of the bloodstream and into your cells. At first, this feels great. You experience what people call a sugar rush. Energy goes up, focus improves. Your brain feels alert, but this state doesn't last because insulin often overcorrects the spike. Blood sugar begins dropping quickly, sometimes even dipping below normal levels. And this is where the energy leak begins. Suddenly you feel fatigued, irritable, mentally foggy, hungry again, and now your brain sends a signal: we need more sugar. So the cycle repeats. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine trying to keep a fireplace burning by throwing huge piles of paper into the fire. The flame shoots up dramatically, but then burns out just as quickly. Now compare that to burning slow, dense firewood. The heat is steady, the fire lasts longer, the energy output becomes stable. Your metabolism works exactly the same way. High glycemic foods behave like paper in the fire. Whole foods with fiber, protein, and healthy fats behave like slow-burning fuel. Research consistently shows that rapid glucose spikes followed by insulin surges can lead to fatigue, cravings, and poor concentration, especially when these cycles repeat throughout the day. Over time, this pattern can even lead to insulin resistance, where cells stop responding properly to insulin, forcing the pancreas to release more and more of the hormone just to maintain normal blood sugar levels. And when that happens, your metabolism starts storing more fat and producing less stable energy. So the question becomes, how do we close this energy leak? There are several simple strategies that can dramatically stabilize blood sugar. First, build meals around protein and fiber. Protein slows digestion and fiber slows glucose absorption. Together, they flatten the blood sugar curve and prevent spikes. A practical rule I teach patients is this: never eat carbohydrates by themselves. Pair them with something like eggs, fish, Greek yogurt, nuts or seeds, avocado. Second, reduce liquid sugar. Sugary drinks, fruit juices, and sweetened coffee beverages are one of the fastest ways to spike blood sugar because there's almost no fiber to slow absorption. Third, walk for 10 minutes after meals. Muscles act like glucose sponges. Even light movement helps pull sugar out of the bloodstream and into muscle tissue where it can be used as fuel. Fourth, consider time-restricted eating. Allowing the body a 12-14-hour overnight fasting window gives insulin levels time to drop and improves metabolic flexibility. And finally, prioritize whole foods over ultra-processed foods, foods that still resemble their natural form. Vegetables, eggs, meat, legumes, nuts, and healthy fats naturally create more stable energy production. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you understand how your metabolism actually works. Because once you stabilize blood sugar, something interesting happens. Your energy stops behaving like a roller coaster. Instead, it becomes predictable, steady, and sustainable throughout the day. And that's when your metabolism finally starts working with you instead of against you. The second major energy leak happens through a hormone that is absolutely essential for survival, but extremely damaging when it stays elevated too long. That hormone is cortisol. Cortisol is often called the stress hormone, but in reality, it's more like your body's emergency response system. When something stressful happens, a threat, a deadline, a lack of sleep, your brain signals the adrenal glands to release cortisol. The goal is simple: mobilize energy quickly. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Cortisol tells the liver to release stored glucose into the bloodstream. It raises blood pressure slightly, increases alertness, and temporarily shuts down processes that aren't essential for immediate survival. In short bursts, this system is incredibly helpful. Thousands of years ago, it helped humans run from danger, hunt food, or react to threats. But the modern world has changed something important. Today, the threats are rarely physical. They're psychological and chronic. Emails, financial pressure, sleep deprivation, constant phone notifications, late-night screen exposure. The problem is that your brain cannot easily distinguish between a real physical danger and a mental stressor. So the body activates the same hormonal response again and again all day long. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine your body has a backup generator designed for emergencies. When the power goes out, the generator kicks on to keep things running, but it's not meant to run 24 hours a day. If it does, the system begins to overheat, burn fuel inefficiently, and wear down faster. Chronic cortisol works the same way. Instead of turning on briefly and shutting off, the stress response remains partially activated all day, and that creates several metabolic problems. First, cortisol raises blood sugar levels. Even if you're not eating sugar, cortisol signals the liver to release glucose. This contributes to the blood sugar instability we discussed earlier. Second, cortisol interferes with deep restorative sleep. High evening cortisol levels make it harder to enter slow-wave sleep, the stage where your brain detoxifies, tissues repair, and hormones reset, so you wake up tired even after a full night in bed. Third, chronic cortisol drains mitochondrial efficiency. Your cells shift into a defensive mode instead of a productive one. Instead of generating energy efficiently, resources are diverted toward managing stress chemistry and inflammation. Over time, this creates the feeling many people describe as wired but tired. Your mind feels stimulated, but your body feels exhausted. So how do we begin closing this energy leak? The first step is re-regulating the nervous system. One of the simplest tools is controlled breathing. Slow nasal breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's relaxation pathway, which directly lowers cortisol levels. A simple protocol many clinicians recommend is 4-second inhale through the nose, 6-second slow exhale, repeated for 3 to 5 minutes. This alone can significantly calm the stress response. The second strategy is morning sunlight exposure. Getting natural light within the first 30 minutes after waking helps reset your circadian rhythm and properly time cortisol release. Cortisol is supposed to peak in the morning, giving you energy for the day, and then gradually decline by evening. But when circadian rhythms are disrupted, cortisol can stay elevated at night, which interferes with sleep. Third, consider nutrients that support stress resilience. Magnesium, for example, plays a major role in nervous system regulation and relaxation. Adaptogenic herbs such as ashwagandha or rhodiola have also been studied for their ability to support balanced cortisol responses. And finally, one of the most powerful tools is simply protecting your sleep window. Late night work, bright screens, and irregular sleep schedules keep the brain in an alert state, prolonging cortisol activation. When you give your body a consistent sleep schedule, you help restore the natural rhythm of stress hormones. And when cortisol begins to normalize, something important happens. Your body no longer has to spend all day in survival mode. It can return to energy production mode. The third major energy leak, and one that many people underestimate, is poor sleep quality and circadian rhythm disruption. And this goes far beyond simply not getting enough hours. Because here's what's really going on inside your body when you sleep. Sleep is not just rest. Sleep is metabolic repair. During deep sleep, your brain activates systems that clear metabolic waste, your liver resets blood sugar regulation, growth hormone repairs tissues, and your mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells, recover from the day's energy production. In other words, sleep is when your body rebuilds tomorrow's energy. But when sleep quality is disrupted, those repair systems don't function properly. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Think of your body like a city. During the day, the city is busy. Traffic, work, production, energy consumption. But at night, the maintenance crews come out. They repair roads, clean streets, fix electrical systems. Now imagine the city never allows those crews to work. Eventually, the infrastructure starts breaking down. That's exactly what happens metabolically when sleep is poor. Your body never gets enough time to repair the energy systems that power the next day. Research has consistently shown that even one night of poor sleep can significantly impair insulin sensitivity, meaning your body becomes worse at managing blood sugar the next day. When that happens, your pancreas has to release more insulin, which increases the likelihood of energy crashes and cravings. Poor sleep also disrupts two powerful hormones that regulate appetite, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin signals hunger. Leptin signals fullness. When sleep is restricted, ghrelin increases and leptin decreases, which is why people tend to crave high-calorie foods when they're sleep deprived. Your brain is literally trying to compensate for lost energy. But there's another critical factor involved here: circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm is the internal biological clock that coordinates hormone release, digestion, metabolism, and energy production over a 24-hour cycle. When this clock becomes misaligned, often due to late-night screen exposure, irregular sleep schedules, or lack of morning light, the entire hormonal system becomes confused. Cortisol may rise at the wrong times. Melatonin may release too late. Blood sugar control becomes weaker. And the result is a constant feeling of fatigue. So how do we close this energy leak? The first strategy is consistent sleep timing. Your brain loves routine. Going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time each day helps synchronize your circadian rhythm, which improves sleep depth and hormone balance. Second, reduce artificial light at night. Bright blue light from phones, computers, and TVs suppresses melatonin, the hormone that signals your brain that it's time to sleep. A practical solution is to dim lights after sunset and avoid screens for the final 60 minutes before bed whenever possible. Third, create a sleep-friendly environment. Your bedroom should be cool, dark, quiet. Even small light sources can disrupt melatonin production. Fourth, consider nutrients that support sleep physiology. Magnesium glycinate, glycine, and small doses of melatonin have been studied for improving sleep onset and quality when used appropriately. And finally, try to stop eating 2-3 hours before bedtime. Late night eating forces the digestive system to remain active when the body should be shifting into repair mode. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help you understand the hidden physiology behind energy, metabolism, and healthy aging. Because once sleep quality improves, something remarkable happens. Energy production the next day becomes dramatically more efficient. Your brain becomes sharper, your metabolism stabilizes, and your body finally gets the chance to restore the energy it was designed to produce. The fourth hidden energy leak is something most people rarely think about: micronutrient deficiencies. And this is a critical point because energy production in the body is not just about calories, it's about biochemistry. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Every unit of energy your cells produce, every heartbeat, every muscle contraction, every thought depends on a molecule called ATP. ATP is created inside your mitochondria through a series of biochemical reactions known as cellular respiration. But these reactions cannot occur efficiently without specific vitamins and minerals. In other words, your mitochondria require nutritional cofactors to generate energy. Without them, the system slows down. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a car engine. Fuel alone is not enough to make the engine run smoothly. You also need spark plugs, oil, coolant, and proper airflow. If any of those components are missing, the engine struggles, even if the gas tank is full. Your metabolism works the same way. You can be eating enough calories, but if the micronutrients that support energy metabolism are lacking, your cells simply cannot convert that fuel into usable energy. Several nutrients are especially important for mitochondrial function. One of the most important is magnesium. Magnesium participates in more than 300 biochemical reactions in the body, many of them involved directly in ATP production. Low magnesium levels can lead to fatigue, muscle weakness, and poor sleep quality. Another critical nutrient is vitamin B complex. B vitamins, especially B1, B2, B3, B5, and B12, play key roles in converting carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into cellular energy. Without adequate B vitamins, the metabolic pathways that generate ATP slow down significantly. Then there's iron. Iron is essential for transporting oxygen through the blood via hemoglobin, and oxygen is necessary for efficient mitochondrial energy production. Low iron levels reduce oxygen delivery to tissues, which is why fatigue is one of the most common symptoms of iron deficiency. Another nutrient worth mentioning is coenzyme Q10, often called CoQ10. CoQ10 is a molecule located directly inside the mitochondria, where it helps transfer electrons in the energy production chain. Without sufficient CoQ10, the mitochondria cannot efficiently generate ATP. Research has shown that CoQ10 levels naturally decline with age, which may partly explain why many people experience reduced energy as they get older. But here's the bigger issue. Modern diets, especially those high in ultra-processed foods, are often calorie-dense but nutrient-poor. This means people may consume plenty of calories but still lack the micronutrients needed for efficient metabolism. So how do we close this energy leak? First, prioritize nutrient-dense whole foods. Some of the most powerful foods for mitochondrial nutrition include leafy greens, eggs, fatty fish, nuts and seeds, legumes, organ meats. These foods naturally contain many of the vitamins and minerals required for cellular energy. Second, support magnesium intake. Magnesium-rich foods include pumpkin seeds, almonds, spinach, and dark chocolate. In some cases, magnesium supplementation may also be helpful, especially for people with poor sleep or muscle tension. Third, monitor iron status, especially if fatigue is persistent. Iron levels can be evaluated through simple blood tests, including ferritin. Fourth, consider mitochondrial supportive nutrients like CoQ10, particularly for individuals over 40 or those taking medications that may reduce CoQ10 levels. If this is helpful so far, consider subscribing. I post content like this every day to help people understand how to restore energy naturally by supporting the body's biology. Because when your mitochondria finally receive the nutrients they need, something powerful happens. The body begins producing energy efficiently again, not through stimulants, not through temporary boosts, but through the natural biochemical pathways your body was designed to use. The fifth and final energy leak is one that most people never see, yet it silently drains enormous amounts of energy from the body every single day. That leak is chronic, low-grade inflammation. Now, inflammation itself is not a bad thing. In fact, it's a critical survival mechanism. When you cut your skin, catch an infection, or injure a muscle, the immune system triggers inflammation to repair tissue and fight off threats. But here's the problem. In the modern world, inflammation is often constantly activated at a low level, even when there's no immediate injury. And when this happens, your body begins spending massive amounts of energy simply managing internal stress. Here's what's really going on inside your body. Your immune system is one of the most energy-demanding systems in human physiology. When immune cells detect a threat, whether it's a virus, poor gut bacteria balance, ultra-processed food compounds, or environmental toxins, they release signaling molecules called cytokines. Cytokines coordinate the inflammatory response, but they also send signals to the brain that alter metabolism and energy usage. Let me explain this with a simple analogy. Imagine a factory that normally produces useful products. Now imagine the factory suddenly has to divert half its workers to security and damage control. Production slows down dramatically. That's exactly what chronic inflammation does to your metabolism. Instead of using energy for movement, mental clarity, and cellular repair, the body diverts resources toward immune surveillance and defense, and that constant diversion creates fatigue. Research in metabolic health shows that chronic inflammation is closely linked to fatigue, insulin resistance, brain fog, and accelerated aging. Several modern lifestyle factors commonly trigger this low-grade inflammatory state. Diets high in ultra-processed foods, excess sugar and refined carbohydrates, poor gut microbiome health, chronic psychological stress, lack of physical movement, poor sleep. One particularly important factor is gut health. Roughly 70% of the immune system is connected to the gut, and when the gut microbiome becomes imbalanced, inflammatory signals can increase throughout the body. This is sometimes called metabolic inflammation, and it acts like a constant background drain on your energy reserves. So how do we begin closing this energy leak? The first step is improving dietary quality. Anti-inflammatory foods can significantly calm immune activity and support metabolic health. Some of the most powerful include fatty fish rich in omega-3s, olive oil, berries, leafy greens, turmeric, green tea. These foods contain compounds that help regulate inflammatory pathways. The second strategy is regular physical movement. Exercise acts as a powerful anti-inflammatory signal. Even moderate activity, like brisk walking, can reduce inflammatory markers and improve mitochondrial function. Third, support gut microbiome diversity. Fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi help introduce beneficial bacteria that regulate immune activity. Fiber-rich foods like vegetables, legumes, and oats also feed beneficial gut microbes. Fourth, manage chronic stress. As we discussed earlier, prolonged cortisol elevation can amplify inflammatory signaling throughout the body. Practices such as breathing exercises, sunlight exposure, and consistent sleep routines help calm this system. And finally, prioritize sleep and recovery. During deep sleep, the body releases anti-inflammatory signals that help reset the immune system. When inflammation begins to decrease, something powerful happens. Energy that was previously being diverted into defense mode becomes available again for metabolism, focus, and vitality. And this is often when people experience a dramatic improvement in how they feel day to day. If this has been helpful so far, consider subscribing. I share science-based strategies like this every day to help people optimize their metabolism and long-term health naturally. Because once inflammation is reduced, the body can finally return to its natural state, efficient energy production.